All right, and we're back with part two, DR270. Our objective is the same as our last video, and we're going to be building the newel posts and the bolsters, again, still from the drafting from Blythe's Spirit. So we're going to build these newel posts and these bolsters, and then we're going to place the also build the handrail and place it in the right place. So that's going to be out of view, but so that I can see it. And you're going to be able to know the measurements when I say them and when they appear in the dimension circles. We're going to start with the newel post. Grab your rectangle tool, either with the R key or over on your panel, and click and draw something that is 10 inches, 10 inches. Enter. Hit P for the push-pull tool, select it, and pull it up 4 foot 5 inches. There you go. I'm going to grab the selection tool, and I'm going to triple click this item so that I select everything. And that's why I made it off in the middle of nowhere on the green, so that I won't select the whole staircase. And I'm going to right click, make a component, make sure it says none, replace selection with component, and click create. Now I'm going to grab the move tool, and I'm going to be careful to grab the center of this side, which is very easy to do. As you can see, I got corner, corner, and middle. That's really the things that Sketchup wants to grab. So I'm going to grab the middle of the front side. Now I want to place it right here. But for you, it might be a little difficult to find that midpoint spot. Sometimes Sketchup gets a little confused, and one of the things that I like to do is to push it as close as I can to something near it, an endpoint or a line or something. And as soon as I get this to stop parting off in the background and to stick to a line of some kind, then I'll drag it along that line to the place where I want it to go. And SketchUp, as I drag my mouse along that line, will say, oh, do you want this intersection? No? How about this one? How about this one? How about this one? And that's when I tell it yes. Now, so I want it to be right in the midsection of this side of the staircase, okay? And that means that it's going to go halfway onto this platform, halfway into the step, and halfway on there. It's going to be very centrally located. So I'm going to grab it again, put it in the right spot, and see, now this is what I was talking about, where it's a little confused as to where I want it to go, and I can't seem to get it right on that line. So again, I'm just going to drag around some of the architecture that's somewhere else. So next I'm going to replicate this post over here, and I'm going to move with my center scroll wheel and holding the shift and the center scroll wheel so that those commands are spring-loaded. And when I let go of all those things, I still have the move tool in my hand. So I'm going to rotate or orbit until I can grab that same center intersection point, so that when I make a copy and I press the control key to make that copy, this copy, the handle that I'm holding, is going to wants to be directly in line with the original point of the original item. So now I'm going to make sure, I'm going to move it around until that snaps to red and kind of wants to be straight, and then I'm going to move it along that red line. Now I could hold shift, and you see how that dotted line got bold? That means now no matter what I do, it won't move anywhere other than on that red line. I can move it way over here and it doesn't matter, it just wants to be on that red line. So then I'm going to move it until it intersects with this side of that front step, and that's where I want it to be. So I'm going to unclick there. Now that's our newel post, and we're going to do detail on those newel posts in another video, but we're going to work on our bolsters. Now these are going to be all the way up and down the stairs, and you see that there are two different heights to them. That's because they're slightly different. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and build two components, and I'm going to replicate them all the way up. And I'm going to make sure that they're placed in the right spot. They're going to be 2 inches in, and there are 2 of them, and they're evenly spaced from each other and from the edge. And when we do that math, we know that this step is 10 inches. So we want it in 2 inches from the end, and we want it in 2 inches from this edge. 2 inches again, 2 inches again, 2 inches again. Now you don't actually need all of those guidelines, but this shows you that if you divide this 10-inch step into 5 equal parts, those are 2-inch parts. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool, go to this first intersection and pull up this way and make a 2, comma 2 inch square. Then I'm going to skip an empty spot and make another 2 comma 2 inch square. Now before I pull these up, I'm going to make them into components. And the reason I'm doing that now is because if I were to go ahead and pull them up with the push-pull tool and make it into an object, and I double click on it, I only get one surface. But if I triple click on it, 1, 2, 3, I get the whole staircase because it wasn't made into a component. I don't want the whole staircase. So instead, while it's still only a surface and edges connected to each other, I can double click and make it a component. Double click, make it a component. And now these two items are components independent of the staircase. And I can double click on them. And this is component editing mode. So now when I grab it and pull up, it'll only affect that one item. And I don't have to carefully select all of those corners. Now, if you mess up and you don't make it a component, you can always carefully select it. So now I don't need any of these guidelines anymore. I'm going to go to Edit, Delete Guides. Okay. So what I want to do with these items is I want to replicate them all the way up, 1, 2, 3, 4, for a total of 4 copies, up the staircase, and I want them to be in the exact same place as everything else. So when I move them, when I grab the Move tool, I have to, first of all, I have to hit the space bar and I have to select the items that I want to move, right? I can't just grab the Move tool and select and move both of them. I have to select them with the space bar, or the selection tool rather, and click on both of them. In order to select both of them, you select one item, hold the Shift key, click and select the next item, and that'll add or subtract from a selection. So I can also click on it again and remove it from the selection. So if I click over here and then click over here, I got a little click happy. I can remove this again by just clicking on it one more time while holding the Shift key. So I'm going to grab the Move tool. Now normally when you're thinking about the Move tool, you're thinking about, oh, I'll just grab it and move it. That is not the way you should think about grabbing with the Move tool. You use the Selection tool to tell SketchUp, I want to move these items. Once you have the Move tool in your hand, the first place that you click is a reference point, not a grab point. This isn't about just grabbing something off the table where you have to grab something from the direction that your hand can grab it from. You are telling SketchUp to move it in reference to that point. That's why when we grabbed the staircases, we grabbed the bottom corner because we wanted every bottom corner to touch the top corner of the next step. So these, I want them to be sitting exactly on the right place in the step. So what I could do is I could grab my tape measure and make a 2-inch guideline and a 2-inch guideline and say that I want both of these things, grab my Move tool, and I can grab this corner point, tap the Control key and replicate there, and now I know that they'll be in the same place. But I can do something even easier than that. I'm going to hit spacebar again and reselect my pieces, hit the M key for the Move tool. I don't have to click on the items I've selected. I'm going to say that I want to click this reference point right here because every step has a down corner to that step, a down, a bottom left corner or the point of the staircase. So I'm going to click right here. And what I'm telling SketchUp is that I want to pick up these two pieces relative to that point. As you can see, as I move it around, they're floating exactly 2 by 2 inches catty corner from my mouse. And yeah, it's a little bit hard to tell that it's always exactly the right measurement, but believe me, it is. So if I move it up to here, I'm going to tap the Control key in order to get a copy. And then I'm going to go to the next step. And if I click right on this same point, so the bottom corner here or the bottom corner here, it's going to be the exact same spot. Then I'm going to hit X5. Oh, that's one more replication than I need. So I'm just going to correct it by hitting X4, Enter, and that's all I need. Now, you can also do this, I can go ahead and undo that. You can also do this with any other reference point that makes sense. Any other reference point that is repeated on every step. So I can grab the Move tool and I can grab this corner right here. tap the control key, and as long as I click the same corner on the next step, X4, they're all the same. Okay? So I'm gonna also replicate, there would be two, you can see in the picture that there's only one bolster on this last step, and it's the larger one or the one that's farther on the right. So I'm gonna grab that one and pay attention to where I grab. I just accidentally undid the array, so I could hit Control Y to redo the array. Carefully grab this guy right here and tap the control key, and that doesn't work for me, does it? So I'm gonna undo that and grab the selection tool, click on it, grab the move tool, and click on a reference point, tap the control key, and replicate it. There we go. So I know that these are all the wrong height, but that's okay, because once I put my handrail in, they're going to be the right height. Now, one thing we need to get that handrail to be at a certain angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a guideline at that angle, and I'm going to construct this item in the air. So I am going to close off one of the triangles on this staircase with the line tool. Okay? Grab my selection tool and deselect that guy over there so it doesn't get confusing. And I'm going to grab the tape measure tool, and I'm going to grab this line right here. And just like any other line that we pull from, if we click on that line, we get a line that's parallel to it. No matter what axis we're on, we will also get one parallel to that line, even if it's diagonal. Weird, right? Okay. But very useful. I'm going to erase those extra guidelines that we don't need, and now I'm just going to grab one from here. Now you can see that there's a couple different directions that I can pull from, right? I can pull straight up this way, and I get a gray arrow. I can pull in the green direction, and as we discussed, the green direction is a horizontal direction. So I'm actually moving, if I pull this way, I'm actually replicating that back on the staircase or forward from the staircase rather than up into the air, which is what I want. So if I move my view so that I can see that better, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to take this and replicate the angle out into space. Okay? I'll just replicate it. And now with this in the air, I'm going to take the tape measure tool and I'm going to grab that guideline, and now I'm going to replicate that guideline in the green direction so that I have the width of the handrail, and I'm going to go ahead and make that 3.5 inches. I need to make sure that when I type that, my tape measure tool is currently green, otherwise it will mess it up. Enter. Now I'm going to take the line tool and I'm going to draw a line from this guideline to the other guideline and make sure that it stays green. I'm going to draw a line down the guideline, making sure my pencil tool sticks to that guideline and doesn't skip on down to the geometry below. Again, when I make the bottom line, I want to make sure, absolutely sure, that it's green. Okay? And I know that I've done it right when I complete that, it makes a surface. If it doesn't make a surface, that means some of those lines are wonky, are all cattywampus, and they're doing something like this when I don't want them to. Okay? So now that I have this floating handrail, I'm going to grab the push-pull tool, and I'm going to make sure that I grab that surface, and I'm going to pull it until it's, let's do 1.5 inches wide. Okay? So now I can use my push-pull tool to make this as long as I need it to be or as short as I need it to be and let it enter and intersect with the other geometry. Before I start doing that though, I just Control-Z to get back to what I had before. I'm going to triple click this item while it's out all on its own and make it into a component. Now I'm making it into a component so that it doesn't stick to other things. Now I'm also going to delete this little thing that I don't need anymore, this little triangle that I made. And I'm going to look at my drafting, and it says that from the top edge of the top step, this platform right here, to the top edge of my railing is 2'6". So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my tape measure, and I'm going to go from the top edge of this railing, of this step. So I'm actually going to grab the front of the step and pull up. I'm going to make sure that my mouse is blue, so it's going in the upward direction, and I'm going to type 2'6" inches and hit enter. Okay. Now I'm going to grab this component with the move tool, and I'm just going to grab the center of it or the corners, either way, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to pull up or down until that line is blue. There it is. And you can see that even if you have trouble seeing the color, it's going to tell you on blue axis. I'm going to hold the shift key, and that means I'm locked. So I'm locked and I can't go anywhere but up or down. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to stick on this line. I need a better view of that line though. So I had to re-find the blue axis. Now it seems like it won't find that height for me because it won't cross. It doesn't cross that point. So let's do a tape measure tool from there, from the corner up to that point. And I'm going to enter this, grab my push-pull tool and pull it until it intersects with that item. And now I can grab the move tool and I can grab this where that intersects and pull it up to the guide point. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to use the push-pull tool to make this small again. And I'm going to push this to that point because I don't need anything more than to there. I do need more on this side though, so I'm going to grab this and I'm going to pull it longer till it intersects with the newel post. And that is our railing and it's in the right place. So I'm going to delete all the guides by going to Edit, Delete Guides. And now I'm going to enter this component by double clicking, grab the push-pull tool, and I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to pull all of them up together. Now you see if I leave it straight on the top, I'm going to end up with it intersecting my handrail, so I'm going to push it so that I can't see it on the top. And then I'm going to grab just this edge with the selection tool, just one edge of the top, grab the move tool and move just this one edge up until it intersects and hides inside of the railing. I'm going to use the selection tool and click outside to exit that mode. I'm also going to go back into the hand railing, grab the push-pull tool and make the railing a little wider so that it hides that a little better. I still think it's a little wide though, especially because I don't really want it sticking out the newel post down here. So I'm going to line it up to the newel post there by using inferencing, which is right on the edge of the bolsters as well. And then I'm going to move this in just so it's a sleeker design. Looks a little nicer. I'm going to exit out, grab the other bolster, grab the push-pull tool, do the same thing. I'm going to pull it up until that first downstage or downstairs edge is buried into the handrail. Space bar in order to select that line. Move tool to move that line up. And I want to make sure that when I move it, I don't move it this way or this way or this way. I need to make sure it hits the blue axis. And pull it up just a little bit until it's buried into the handrail. And there we go. That is the bolsters and the newel posts for the staircase.